Wherever you may be, welcome again to this channel, and welcome again to another session of our discussions on life lessons from the Bible. We have been doing a number of sessions on the book of Revelation and Bible prophecy and all the issues related to the book of Revelation. So far, we are in chapter 3. But in addition to that, we have also done some other videos that relate to life lessons, life issues. Today, what we want to do is to just pause and look at where we are as far as Bible prophecy is concerned. And we want to take stock of what is going on around us today. I'm sure most of us are very well aware that in the last few years, and especially the last few months, some major events have taken place. And because of these events, we have been pushed forward in Bible prophecy in a great way. I just want to look at some of these today in this short video, and to give us a sense of where we are. Just what we want to do is just touch on 5 main areas. We want to look at the status of where we are in terms of COVID-19 and what all of that has done in terms of Bible prophecy. We want to look at digital currencies, where we are as far as that is related. We want to look at things related to the Middle East, which is a very hot area, and discuss things related to the Abraham Accords. Those accords have brought us much changes that aligned geopolitics more in terms of prophecy. When I talk about the war in Ukraine and Russia, of course, which is a major event, and we want to also quickly talk about China and the rise of China today as an economic power, economic rival to the United States. So these are some of the things that have pushed us very quickly in a short space of time far ahead in Bible prophecy. When we had started off studying the book of Revelation, we mentioned that there's the kingdom of God, and that kingdom is advancing, but there's also the kingdom of the world, or the kingdom of darkness, which is what Satan controls. And the men in this kingdom of the world, they are moving forward in the program that demonic spirits have set out. And you could look at some of our videos before that explains the big picture in Bible prophecy. But one of the things we want to mention today is during the course of COVID, much of these programs and agenda has been, or were, these programs were pushed forward in a big way. One of the biggest things I'm sure most of us would be aware of is COVID-19 caused the world to move forward in a digital connectivity in a greater way than whatever happened in the previous years. Because of the lockdowns and because of persons being at home, the world was forced to use digital connectivity to do online meetings, to speak with family members, to do face-to-face sessions on Zoom and other platforms. And what this has done, what COVID-19 forced us to do, was to become more connected digitally, which means we are no longer separated because of distance. Even before COVID-19, the world was described as a global village because technology brought us together. But what the virus did, what the pandemic did, is to push that even further in a faster way. In just a short space of time, places and people in the world who were not exposed to technology started using it because of the necessity. But what that means for us today is the world today is more connected globally. We are more connected because of digital means, which means it is now easier for us to interact with each other. It is now easier for us to do business with each other because of technology. And that is good, when it comes to business, when it comes to keeping in touch with each other. But when we look at this from the eyes of Bible prophecy, we see the world being aligned more and more towards a system where the world, not only countries, but the world could be easily controlled and even easily directed by just one person. and the Bible calls him the beast or the Antichrist. And so COVID-19 did that for us. It pushed us into this global connectivity through technology. But one of the things COVID-19 also did, and is still present today, is desensitizing populations to the control that governments have over us. During the pandemic, we were told that we can't work, we can't be on the outside, and many of us willingly submitted to government and to organizations our freedoms, and we were comfortable in it because we trusted what governments have to say. And so what COVID-19 did is that it desensitized us, the people, the citizens, to the control that governments and to the power that governments have. One of the interesting things is that there's a verse in Revelation 13 which says that the beast or the man of sin, he caused all to receive a mark. And that word caused is very interesting because it didn't say he forces all, it says he causes all. And it seems to imply that what this man called the Antichrist or the beast is going to do is to develop a system in which people will give to him control. And this is what one of the things COVID-19 did. It basically programmed citizens to trust governments and to submit control of our lives, a large portion of our lives, to what they say. When the government says we cannot work, which means we do not have an income, which means we citizens would be at risk because of a lack of income, but yet we submitted to governments on that, which is something that is very strange. But COVID-19 desensitized us to that. One of the interesting things too, when we talk about prophecies and fulfillment of prophecies, even prior to COVID-19, there was a push, and still is today, a push for the world to be connected digitally through what is called ID 2020. And you could go online, you could search that. It's there for all to see. But ID 2020 was and is today a push for the world to be connected digitally, to be represented digitally or electronically. And the idea is for all of us in the world to be able to have access to the technology, have access to online transactions, so we could do things easily, we could be represented, we could be identified digitally, and therefore have access to business, have access to transactions. The intent, based on what the persons behind ID 2021 says, is good. You know, it allows persons who, for example, persons who are refugees, people who are poor, people who are not able to do things. ID 2020 is a push to be able to help persons like that. But the push is to help those persons to become, to have access to things electronically or digitally. And that was going on even before COVID, before the pandemic. And so when the pandemic came, it just advanced the need for that even more. COVID-19 just gave us a reason to do what was in plans all along. COVID-19 just provided the platform and a reason to even speed up those plans. And so there was this push, and still is this push for ID 2020. And we could, like I say, you could go online and you could check that. But together with the push for identification digitally and representation digitally, there's also been a push, even prior to COVID and now more so, for digital currencies and digital transactions. One of the big things everyone knows about today is Bitcoins and all of the other types of cryptocurrencies that we have present. But those things were going on before COVID. COVID just simply allowed it to be sped up at a quick rate. The push towards cryptocurrency and all the transactions in a digital format is both convenient, but it is also alarming when we think about it in the context of Bible prophecy. Cryptocurrencies, especially currencies like Bitcoin, gives us the promise of quick and easy transactions on the net. And it especially things like Bitcoin does not it removes the controls of governments. It promises a free and unhindered transactions between people. So that cryptocurrencies and things like Bitcoin, which is one of the most familiar, seems to be very attractive. But now, where we are in 2022, it is not only individuals who are pursuing cryptocurrencies, but now governments, central banks are also contemplating on the idea. In the States, there's the idea of a Fed coin, federal coin, which is a digital transaction that the Federal Reserve in the United States is contemplating. And so we are moving more and more into the stage of digital currencies, removing the currencies we have today. For any one of us who are familiar with the global financial outlook that we are in today, it seems very grim. Not only that, but we have governments that are in debt, in huge debt around the world, from the United States, which is in trillions of dollars in debt, countries that have seen plenty economic problems like Sri Lanka and even Pakistan and other countries. And so there's a need globally to be able to somehow bring some calm to the world's currencies, to bring some form of stability to the global economic outlook. And one of the ways that is being contemplated, and not just contemplated, but being put in place now, is a move from what we call fiat currency, the cash that we use, into the digital age of digital currencies. And so the digital currencies and how it is intended to be implemented, what they say would help to stabilize world economies. It would help individuals to be able to do transactions more securely. It would also, doing things digitally, would allow people who previously would not have access to basic things that they need. This push towards the digital age and digital transactions would aid in all of that, so that the world as a whole could benefit. At least this is what is being given to us as the reasons for the push towards digital currencies. But this is where we are today. And this is very, very alarming. We are also in the age of artificial intelligence, AI, which is where technology and humanity seems to be getting closer and closer, in some cases blurred. A few years ago, some of you may be aware, there were much talk about the term transhumanism, which is where human beings were becoming more and more interactive with technology, especially things to do with enabling humans to become more physically active and stronger and to develop faster with the use of technology. And that today is seen in AI. AI is helping us to do a number of things that we were not able to do before. So AI is good on one hand, but it is also very, very, we need to be very careful about that in terms of Bible prophecy. Many of us would remember the book of Revelation, where it speaks about the beast telling the world to make an image. Not the beast, sorry, the second beast, the false prophet, telling the world to make an image of the beast. And that image of the beast would live and it would speak. One of the characteristic features that the image would speak, and it would cause the world to worship the beast. And all these things seems to be very much aligned to what we talk about today as AI. When we mix AI with cryptocurrencies and digital transactions, one of the things that also comes into play with that is biotechnology, which is simply the ability for technology to interact with humans and our bodies. And so we are able to allow our bodies and technology to interact effortlessly and to get things done, which sounds really nice. Being able to implant our bodies with chips or with some form of technology. And because of that implant that now is able to work together with our bodies, it is able to work with the temperatures in our body. It is able to work with the cells and all of the the signals that flow with our body, so that the technology somehow implanted into our systems, into our body, is able to interact with our body. And as a result of that, we are able to interact with digital technology much easier than before. These are things that are not science fiction for years ahead. These are things that are presently existing and is being rolled out more and more. And it is really easy for us to get the information. Any one of us could go online. We could do research into cryptocurrency and biotechnology. Any one of us could go online and look at the various research papers that have been posted online on what is being done right now and how far we have reached. Any one of us could go online and see patents that have been acquired for technology to use cryptocurrencies with biotechnology, and how that will allow us as human beings to be able to work with technology very easily, get transactions done. But it would also allow us to be easily monitored. It would allow us to be easily tracked. It would allow us to be easily controlled. I mean, it is easy for us to, today, a few years ago it may have been a little difficult, but today is easy for us to imagine a world where our transactions are not just known by the banks that we do the transactions with, but by governments or even by international organizations outside of our governments. Because once we do transactions online, once we do any kind of digital transactions, whether we use a national digital currency or whether we do things globally and we go to a global currency, these digital transactions are easy to be monitored, to be controlled. So we could end up in a stage where a person, because of using digital transactions, he or she is monitored by governments or even international bodies outside of the government that he is in. And if that person is known for, has some kind of record with the police, criminal records, if that person is outstanding in terms of his payment for his or her payment for loans or whatever, those persons or bodies monitoring him could easily shut off his transaction. So he will not be able to buy or sell unless that group of people or that government or agency allows him to. It is easy for us to imagine this now, because this is where we are in the world as we move towards more and more implementing cryptocurrency. So COVID has pushed things or caused things to advance quickly. And the digital age, we are, years ago, there were different revolutions that we had. There was revolutions in many years ago when we started using technology. Then there was something called the Industrial Revolution, where we started, industry started developing, and we started developing steel and steam and all these different things. And then we moved into the Technology Revolution, where we started getting into computers. We started to get into all of the great world of the computer age. But now we are into the artificial intelligence age, where AI is developing rapidly. And these things, they are placing us closer and closer, or better put, it is aligning us more and more with Bible prophecy. But in addition to the COVID, in addition to digital currency, and in addition to biotechnology and how it interacts with digital currencies, we also have other things ongoing. One of the things that we have today that has been ongoing for quite a while now is the war between Russia and Ukraine. And we did a video some time ago. You could look on this channel, in the archives on this channel, and you would see, you would see a video that deals with the big picture, the war between Ukraine and Russia. And it goes into a lot of detail. Ezekiel chapters 37 and 38 that talks about the war between Gog and other nations, Israel specifically. So I would encourage you to go back and look at that. But this war between Ukraine and Russia is very significant for many reasons. One of those reasons is the fact that it has caused an alignment in geopolitics today, which is different from what we have seen over the many years previously. The war that Russia is waging against Ukraine has emboldened many different countries. And so countries that were previously aligned with the United States and that were previously aligned with the ideals that the United States hold have now begun moving away from those ideals and those relationships with the US and its other allies. So we have countries like China and Saudi Arabia and Iran and many others, even Argentina, Venezuela, that are becoming more and more emboldened to go against the ideals of the US and the ideals of the West, as we call those countries. And that is significant because the Bible tells us in Bible prophecy that the kings of the East, that is the terms it uses, will come against Israel. One of the major players in that is China. We see that rise of China taking place right now. But the Bible prophecy also shows us that the US will not be playing a significant part in the days ahead. It shows us that the US will not be a major force in the end times. And we are seeing all these geopolitical things taking place right now. The US is declining in its influence and in its leadership globally. It is declining in its control. Previously, when the United States president makes a visit to another nation and he discusses business with that other nation, you would see the other nation making changes to align with the requests of the United States. But in the last few months, President Biden has been liaising with foreign leaders, even making trips to other countries, but not having much success. As a matter of fact, those other countries have been aligning with Russia, opposed to the United States. And so with all of the financial backing that the US has, its influence is decreasing. And geopolitically, we are seeing major shifts that are taking place right now. And this is moving us closer towards Bible prophecy. As a matter of fact, the change in what the Ukraine-Russia war has caused, it does not only extend towards geopolitics. We know it also has economic consequences as well. Inflation worldwide has increased. And so the world is having an economic downturn in a big way, fueled by the pandemic, but also by this war that is taking place between Ukraine and Russia. And in order to deal with all of these things, countries have been realigning themselves and allegiances have been shifted. One of these, I don't know how many of us are aware, but one of these shifts in geopolitics is something called the formation of BRICS. B-R-I-C-S. And BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These countries have decided to come together. This has been happening over a period of time, but they have come together to form a common union, a common trading bloc, a common partnership, which is really in opposition to many years ago, the world had the G8 and Russia was excluded from that. And so the most developed countries came together and they and form alliances in order to, what they say, help the world's economy to grow. BRICS is a system that is set up to counter that. And one of the things that Russia, mainly Putin, has stated a few months ago is that BRICS is now considering developing its own currency, or one currency, which it imagines or which it wants to now replace the US dollar, as the world's reserved currency. In other words, BRICS is pushing towards removing the influence of the United States over the world system, dethroning that and developing its own system. And this is significant because BRICS and its countries, they are gaining momentum. More countries, even up to previously, have voiced their desire to join BRICS. And what all this does is that it adds towards the decline of the United States. It adds towards the decline of the economic system as we know it, and it is creating a void in the economic system, which will be easily filled by digital currencies. It will be easily filled by a change in our socio-economic system. And all this void will also be filled by a new leader, a global leader. So we could put it a little differently. Right now, we are seeing plenty of instability in the governments in the world. The UK right now has changed leaders so many times in the last few months, and their currency has been up and down in its value. The United States is having its own challenges because the US is in trillions of dollars of debt, and it has lost influence on the global stage. Countries like Sri Lanka, which have seen much problem, Pakistan as well, again because of leadership and all kinds of corruption and all these different things. And then the wars that we are seeing basically means governments are unstable, and there are so many riots and protests worldwide. Right now with Iran, riots taking place. What all these things mean is that we are in a stage of plenty unease, socially, plenty unease economically, and plenty unease when it comes to the politics, the geopolitics between countries. And all this unease is setting us up for what the Bible tells us in Revelation 6 is the 4 horsemen that will ride. The Bible talks about when these horsemen come on the scene, there will be a world without peace. There'll be famines and all these things. Right now, with the things that are taking place, we are basically set up and prepared for that. And when global peace, when famine and all these things become more and more, there'll be a greater need for stability, a greater need for some form of control on the world system. And that is where the peace comes in. That is where all of these digital currencies and technology comes in, because that is the solution, or that is the vehicle that will be used to bring the solutions. In the midst of all these things, we have China rising as an economic power, a world power. That is very alarming, because the Bible specifically talks about the kings of the East rising and coming against Israel. And it talks about when the kings of the East comes, that there will also be war between the kings of the East and the beasts, and there'll be challenges there. So it speaks about the kings of the East rising, and China is one of the major players in the kings of the East. And today it is becoming stronger in its power economically, stronger in its control, even on its own people. So the rise of China as an economic power is a major alignment towards Bible prophecy. You see China increasing and the US decreasing. But one of the major things as well that has happened and is still taking place right now in terms of Bible prophecy and moving us faster towards the fulfillment of prophetic events is what we call the Abraham Accord. In 2020, the United States led Israel, the United Arab Emirates, Morocco, and Bahrain to sign an agreement which has been called the Abraham Accords, which is essentially these nations coming into more peace with Israel. And other nations have also um, expressed interest in joining. And this is major. I don't know how many of you have a copy of this book, Psalm 83. It's called Psalm 83, The Missing Prophecy Revealed. The author of this book is Bill Solas. This book is very great because it goes into details about, if you read Psalm 83, Psalm 83 is a prophecy of what will take place for us in a few years' time in terms of the war between the nations and Israel. But one of the very interesting things in that psalm is the nations that are close to Israel are not present in that war. It is nations that are further away. And the Abraham Accords seems to be the medium that is causing that prophecy to now be fulfilled in bringing the nations close to Israel at peace. But it's the nations further away that is seeking war with it. Nobody expected the Abraham's Accord to take place. This was a great surprise. What President Trump did by bringing together these nations is really amazing, and it is a great prophetic milestone, and it aligns geopolitics much more to bring things closer to where the Bible says it would be, especially the book of Revelation. And so the Abraham Accord is very, very interesting, and possibly we would see Saudi Arabia joining in that accord, because Saudi Arabia recently stated that they consider the Israel as a potential ally as well. So it's interesting if we would see Saudi Arabia joining those accords as well. But we have all these things playing. We have the rise of digital currencies and the push towards a global digital currency, which is not a dream. It is very much in play right now. We have COVID-19, which fast-tracked many things, especially the technology, connecting the world digitally. COVID-19 did that. COVID-19 caused us to become desensitized towards giving control of our lives to governments, which is interesting. We also have the war in Ukraine and Russia, which has caused major shifts in global geopolitics. We've seen the decrease of the US and the rise of China. We see the rise of BRICS, which is an opposition to what the United States and the other G7 countries have been doing, and what the United Nations is pushing for as well. And we see the Abraham Accords, which is a major shift in world politics, aligning us towards Bible prophecies fulfillment. We are definitely, when we see so many things taking place at the very same time, it tells us we are definitely in prophetic times. In many years previously, we would have seen different situations happening at different times. But where we are living today, we are seeing major prophetic events happening simultaneously all over the world. And this is not a coincidence. This is a serious prophetic time. And what it means, the application of this for us as believers, is that we need to become very serious in our walk with God and in our work that we do in the kingdom. Jesus in Matthew 24 and 25, when he spoke about prophecies about the end times, one of the things he spoke about is he gave parables after he gave all those prophetic statements. And essentially the parables that he gave was to tell us to be ready. One of the parables was about the virgins, 5 wise, 5 foolish. But some of them had oil, some did not have oil. In other words, they were not prepared. And this, when we see all these things taking place, this is a sign, a major signs for us to get things right in our lives as believers. The Bible tells us in Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, that we will all appear before the judgment seat of Christ. And we will have to give an account of what we did on the earth, whether good or bad. That verse is not speaking about unbelievers. That is speaking about us as people who are born again, people who have relationship with the Lord. And what that says is, although we are born again, we will be judged. and we will have to give an account to the Lord for what we did while we were on the earth. And now that we are seeing all these prophetic things taking place, this is another reminder to us. It is another motivation to us to get our lives in order. So if you know that you have been wasting time, you have not been consistent, or you have not been doing what the Lord has been telling you to do, this is a wake-up call. This is a reminder to get serious and start to get to work. If you know that there's sin that you have been playing with, you're not dealing with it, you're not dealing with the weaknesses, this is opportunity to begin dealing with it, because if we don't, we will have to give an account to God for that as believers. Some of us believe that when we are born again, that we are good to go. We don't have to worry about anything. But the Bible tells us that we will have to give an account. And it also tells us that there are rewards that will be given out to us based on how our judgment will be like. And some of us will be saved, some of us will be with the Lord, but we will have no rewards because we live lazy lives. We live careless lives. The scripture even talks about people who would go before the Lord, and the Lord would say, "Depart from me, I knew you not," and he would cast them into outer darkness. The scripture says where there is weeping and gnashing of teeth. Imagine people standing before the Lord and saying, "I cast out demons in your name. I did so many things in your name." But then the Lord would say, "I never knew you." It's not that he would say, "I knew you once, but then you went away." He would say, "I never knew you." These times we are living in a very serious prophetically, but they are also serious for us to get our house in order. And I think this is where we are. When we see so many prophetic things taking place at the same time, we need to be careful, become more serious. We need to become more vigilant. We also need to become more active in the kingdom and start doing what we need to do, or continue doing what we have been doing, what we sense the Lord tell us to do. And so I hope this has been helpful. This was supposed to be a short discussion, but I think this is necessary for us to take stock of where we are and where we are headed to in some very serious time. Also, to look out to other videos. We will be continuing our study in the book of Revelation. We'll be getting into the details of what to expect prophetically according to the book of Revelation. And also, as we study the book of Revelation, we'll be looking at the other prophetic books like Daniel and others, and bringing them together and explaining what these passages mean. So I invite you to look out for that. Subscribe to this channel. Click on the notification bell so that you could keep updated with what information, as we even delve more into Bible prophecy and give more information, you could be able to. So thank you very much for joining. I invite you to leave your comments, share your insights as well. That'll be good. But until the next time, God bless, and thank you for sharing this time.